Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nisha Charachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Satpratyaya kim nuhaya santam hridyesha chinta rahito hrudakhyah katham smaramastamameyamekam tasya smritistatra drudhaiva nishtha. Bhagavan Raman Maharshi ji is helping us by showing different techniques of turning our attention towards the self. This battle between perception and knowledge, how do we go beyond perception? That is one of the main topic of Saddarshanam. If we go by perception, perception tells us world is outside. Whereas knowledge is telling us world is an appearance in consciousness. World appears as thoughts, thoughts appear in consciousness. That verse we saw, right? What was that verse? Shabdadi rupam bhuvanam samastam. Shabdadi satta indriya vritti bhasya. Satyendriyanam manaso vashesyat. Manomayam tad bhuvanam vadama. This is all Shabdadi Rupas. They are there because of sense organs. Sense organs are enlivened by mind. Mind is appearance in consciousness. This world is nothing but thoughts appearing in Chaitanya. But our perception is world is outside. Different people are there. We feel I am different, he is different, that other person is different. This is natural perception. We don't need to do anything for this. But Bhagavan Raman Maharshi ji said, you and I, this difference is there so long as ahankara is there. When ahankara is removed, when ahankara goes to sleep, all distinctions of you and I also go to sleep. So you see, there also he is pointing out perception will be of differences, but knowledge has to be of oneness. And to do this, first we have to add Chaitanya into the equation. And then when we see Upadhi and Chaitanya, on the strength of our understanding, on the strength of our clarity, hold on to Chaitanya and not conditioning. It will never happen that I will see conditioning somewhere and consciousness somewhere else. Because conditioning doesn't even have its own independent existence. Means in rope snake example, I will not see that illusory snake somewhere and rope somewhere else. I will not see mirage water somewhere and sun rays somewhere else. Mirage water cannot exist without sun rays. Illusory snake cannot exist without rope. But what is demanded here is, in the midst of perception of snake, in the midst of perception of mirage water, I should shift attention to the substratum. The rope in the case of snake, and the sun rays in the case of mirage water. He says this is how a Jnani lives. That was said in 19th verse. Let us chant 19th and 18th, 19th and 20th together. Dehatma bhave jadau samano. Dehatma bhave jadau samano. Together we can chant. Ekasya dehe hrudidipta atma. Akramya deham cha jagat cha purnah. Parasya meyam tanumatramatma. Ajnasya vidyasya cha vishwamasti. Purvasya drishyam jagadeva satyam. Parasya drishyashraya bhutamekam. Satyam prapurnam pravibhatya rupam. Dehatma bhave jna jadau samano. Means as far as perception of body is concerned, experiences through the body is concerned, it is the same for Jnani and Ajnani. It is the same for wise person and ignorant person. Ignorant person feels pain, Jnani also feels pain. Ignorant person feels hunger and thirst, Jnani also feels hunger and thirst. But then what is the difference? What did knowledge do to them? He says, Ekasya dehe hrudidipta atma. As far as Jnani is concerned, his true understanding of I is consciousness. True understanding of I is Chaitanya, not that he is not perceiving body. Body is very well perceived, very well experienced, but his knowledge overrides his perception and experience. Akramya deham cha jagat cha purnah. This is also another point to emphasize. Knowledge overrides perception. Generally, how do we feel? What is the limitation or limit of our body? This is whatever the sharira is. Circumference is wherever the body ends. This is that is all. My existence ends. But for a jnani, his sharira, his body is not only limited to this conditioning, but he says entire jagat is my sharira. Means his identification or his abidance is primarily in consciousness. Within the conditioning part, which comes after consciousness, you can split it into vyashti and samashti, individual and total, for the sake of understanding. Really speaking, this Panchamahabhuta and Jagat Panchamahabhuta, they are not two different things. Gurudev calls it as calcium, carbon, phosphorus. Whatever is made, whatever this world is made up of, and whatever this body is made up of, they are not different. But because there is strong identification with this body, Ajnani feels, I am this body alone. For Jnani, his abidance is in this self, and his understanding is, I express to all conditionings. Not only this conditioning, I enliven all conditionings. This is Tatpadaha, very unique to Vedanta. Sometimes you feel Raman Maharshi only speaks about Tvam-pada. Tvam-pada means inquire into who am I and abide in this self. What about the world? You see what he says, Akramya deham cha jagat cha purnaha. The one who has understood the truth knows that I am expressing not only through this body, but through entire creation. This body is like a small bubble in that ocean of Jagat. But he says, I am not the bubble, I am the water. All the bubbles are appearing in water. Like that, this body and this Jagat is appearing in me, the pure consciousness. Akramya deham cha jagat cha purnaha parasya meyam tanumatram atma. But for Ajnani, this body alone is the meaning of I. He is unable to add Chaitanya into the equation. either because he has not heard, or even after hearing, not accepted that this is what it is. But important point here is there is no conflict between experiencing the world or experiencing the body. Knowledge should override experience. It is just like when we are in the home, our own home, we might be in one room and our experience is only of that room. But what is our knowledge? This whole house belongs to me. I cannot have experience of the whole house at once. Like that, although this jnani is experiencing one body, his knowledge is I express through entire universe. Then the next one also was a similar idea. Ajnasya vijnasya cha vishwamasti. World is very much experienced by ajnani and by jnani. Ignorant person and person with knowledge, both are experiencing this world. Means having no erroneous idea that for jnani there is no world. Or because jagat is mithya, perception of world has stopped. Perception is very well continuing. Then again, what is the difference? If ajnani also is seeing the world, jnani is also seeing the world, something should be there. Bhagavan says, Purvasya drishyam jagadeva satyam. For ajnani, world alone is real. Doesn't see anything beyond the world. It is appearing outside means it's appearing outside. Doesn't think it can be otherwise also. But what about jnani? Parasya drishyashraya bhutam ekam. Drishya is jagat. Ashraya of jagat is the substratum of jagat. That is this ekam, one non-dual truth. If somebody says, show me that one non-dual truth. If you are saying he is seeing jagat and that truth, jagat I am seeing outside, show me where is that substratum. What should be our answer? That substratum never becomes an object. Right from the beginning, we have been telling in Kenopanishad, it is always drashta, never becomes drishya. So don't try to seek consciousness in the world outside. In fact, world outside is appearing in consciousness. It will never become object of sense organ. To see consciousness outside along with jagat, that would become upasana. In upasana, we are not negating conditioning. All we are doing is adding consciousness to conditioning. This part we are seeing in Kathopanishad right now, the Virat Upasana part. There also it is said, Upasaka sees his Sharira as this whole creation. Because he has seen this whole creation as Bhagavan's form and he is dissolving his own conditioning with totality. But what is the difference here? In Upasana, conditioning also true and consciousness is also true. Chaitanya is also real and Upadhi is also there. We are not negating Upadhi. But in Vedanta or in Jnanam, perception of Upadhi is negated. Upadhi is seen, but because it is seen, it is mithya. Then only there is Advaitam. If you say there is conditioning also and there is consciousness also, with same degree of reality, then there are two independent things. Advaitam is non-dual. So whatever is conditioning, that is understood as vivarta. That is understood as an appearance in consciousness. So for Jnani, he says, Parasya drishyashaya bhutam ekam. He is seeing Jagat, but his attention is on the self. The substratum of Jagat, his attention is on the self. Satyam prapurnam pravibhati arupam. And he understands the mahima of the self. He says it is Satyam. It is the truth. It is prapurnam. It is all pervading. pravibhati, it shines, and it is arupam. What is arupam only can become substratum of rupam. If it has its own rupa, then there will be two different rupas. See, whenever you want to draw rangoli, you can't already have a colored background. You need something which is not having its own color. On that, colors will shine. Another example is sound. If you want to listen to sound, the substratum has to be silence. Like that, these namarupas of this world, the substratum is arupa. Satyam prapurnam pravibhati arupam. Next topic is about prarabdha and purushartha. We had just seen the introduction to this topic. Bhagavan Raman Vashiji gives a very beautiful example, metaphor, to explain what is this prarabdha and how does it connect with sanchita karma. We keep hearing these terms. There are three types of karmas. What are those? Sanchita, agami, and prarabdha. He says, this example I have not seen before. He says, what is sanchita karma? When you go to a grocery shop and you have different grains, millets are there, rice is there, barley is there. He says, all of them put together in one granary, let us say. He says, that is your sanchita karma. If you take one scoop out of it, which is a mixture of all grains, barley, rice, millet, that is our prarabdha karma. And he explains also why I'm giving this example. He says some grains will float on water and some grains will sink. Means our results will be, some will be sukham, some will be dukkham, some in between, mishram, mix of sukha dukkha. So sanchita karma is the total karma phala is whatever this jiva has done over the past. And prarabdha is a small portion which is responsible for experiences in this life. And that prarabdha, we constantly feel as though it is controlling our life, as though it is interfering at every point. Either it is some worldly goal that we have. We might have a goal, but how quickly we will reach there is not only in our hands. And the other side of it is my ability to do karma right now, ability to put forth effort right now, that is also producing karma phala. So he says prarabdha and purushartha. My ability to work right now is purushartha. The scoop which is taken out, that is prarabdha. He says between both of them, which one is more powerful? This example we had seen was person swimming in river. The river current which is there, that is prarabdha. Person's effort which is there, that is purushartha. So if you take that example, which one is more powerful? You say purushartha is more powerful. Of course, we cannot make a blanket statement. You can say, if you are swimming at 10 miles per hour, river speed is 20 miles per hour, which is more powerful. You know, Vedanta is Adhyatma Shastra. We are not discussing for the sake of discussion, which is more powerful. Whenever experiences come in our life, how should I look upon them? Should I just say everything is fate, destiny, and sit quietly? Or should I do something? So even in that river example, river doesn't flow at 20 miles per hour all the time. There might be few times of the year, rainy season, when it flows at that speed. That is why we say, Sauraja Dhiraja Tehirata Chaka. One part of our life is Sauraja, being very head-on in taking things. But another part is Dhiraja. Dhiraja is when river water is 20 miles per hour. Means prarabdha karma is too strong, we don't know what is happening. One after another, some or the other challenges come. But at the same time, that doesn't stay forever. So quickly he is able to switch to the first one, Purushartha. The discussion about prarabdha is only so that we don't get frustrated while working. We don't get frustrated while putting forth effort, because there is something in the past which is slowing down. That's all. If you read entire Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan doesn't give this hint that Arjuna, you don't have to do anything. Your prarabdha will take care of it. Although in one place he says, Maya hatan tvam jahi. I have already finished the work, you take the credit. But that is only so that he doesn't feel proud of his Purushartha. That is the only point. So this is with regards to our Vyavaharik life. Transactional life, prarabdha and Purushartha is looked upon in this way. But he says, there is something beyond this also. Prarabdha and Purushartha, if we always remain between them, we will miss out on something which is beyond prarabdha, beyond Purushartha. How should I go towards it? How can I go beyond prarabdha and Purushartha? Raman Maharshi's very precise pointer. He says, ask for whom is prarabdha, for whom is Purushartha. Who is going through prarabdha and who is putting forth Purushartha? What is the first answer? Ahankara. Ahankara alone is putting forth Purushartha. Ahankara is going through prarabdha. One who has done karma, same person has to experience result. So between Atma and Ahankara, who did karma? He said, Ahankara did karma. So when prarabdha comes, who has to experience it? He said, Ahankara has to experience it. The one who abides in the self goes beyond prarabdha, goes beyond Purushartha. But for this, that person has to get vairagya from both. If that person is happy with prarabdha and Purushartha, this quest doesn't come that I should go beyond it. Now, what is it that will push him beyond? How does he get vairagya? He says, no matter which Purushartha it is, it always has time limit. Impermanence is there with everything, including Purushartha. So therefore he says, I will do Purushartha, whatever I have to do, but that alone cannot be absolute goal of life. Very nice verse. This is 21st verse. Vidhe prayatnasya cha kopi vadah. Vidhe prayatnasya cha kopi vadah. तयोर्द्वयोर्मूलमजानतां स्यात् तयोर्द्वयोर्मूलमजानतां स्यात् विधे प्रयत्नस्य च मूलवस्तु विधे प्रयत्नस्य च मूलवस्तु संजानतां नैव विधिर्न यत्नः संजानतां नैव विधिर्न यत्नः विधेहि प्रयत्नस्य च कः अपि वादः. Videhi means of destiny, of prarabdha, and prayatna. Prayatna means purushartha, free will. Kaha api vadaha means this is a never-ending debate. We will never be able to draw the line between what is prarabdha, what is purushartha. Whatever I am saying right now, is it because of my past prarabdha or is it my current purushartha? whatever I'm doing right now, am I pushed by prarabdha or do I have purushartha? He says, don't worry about it. Whatever is according to dharma, that we should do. Whatever is our duty, that we should do. Then how to go beyond it? Tayor dvayor moolam ajanatam syat. Unless we don't inquire into the root, the substratum of this purushartha and prarabdha, free will and destiny, until then, this debate will continuously go on. There is no end to this debate between which is more powerful. But once we know the substratum, vide prayatnasya moola vastu sanjanatam. Once this person knows the substratum, then what happens to him? Na eva vidihi na yatnaha. There is no prarabdha for him. There is no purushartha also for him. Remember, purushartha for him not as ahankara. No purushartha is not from ahankara standpoint. No purushartha is from atma standpoint. Abidance in the self frees him from all purushartha, all prarabdha. Means how does Jnani look upon prarabdha? He says Jnani looks upon prarabdha as prarabdha of body, prarabdha of ahankara. Great accomplishment. To say I am not the body is one thing. But when body is going through experiences, in particular some pain, to say that pain belongs to body is a very evolved state. There is one video of Puja Gurudev where he is talking about, his leg being swollen because of sugar traveling. And there he says the same line. Of course, there he's just in a casual interview, he's saying, yeah, my schedule is planned. I go from here to there to there. Pain belongs to the body. Pain belongs to the body. That is their self-abidance. Looking upon the sharira as something different. But most importantly, the experiences as something different. In Manisha Panchakam, there is one verse, right? Shashvannashvara vishwamevamakhilam nishchitya vacha guru nityam brahma nirantaram vimrushata nirvyaja shantatmana bhutam bhavicha dushkrutam pradahatam samvinmaye pavake prarabdhaya samarpitam sopuhu iti isha manisha mama. He says, who is my guru? Guru is the one whose mind is always reveling in this truth. Nityam Brahma Nirantaram Vimrushatam. Nirvyaja Shantatman. One who has a very beautiful mind and is always reveling in this truth. But how does he look at his day-to-day experiences? He says, Prarabdhaya Samarpitam. Samarpitam means offered unto Prarabdha. Means he has put his all needs of Sharira. Either you say in the lap of Prarabdha, a sweeter way to say it is in the lap of Bhagavan. Because the one who is sending Prarabdha is Bhagavan only. So from Karma Phala, shifting attention to Karma Phala Data. One step above that is to know its Mithyatva. One step above that is to understand its falsity. We can also go through Prarabdha by taking Prarabdha as real. When somebody who has strong willpower, they can say, whatever comes, I will face. Not necessary that Prarabdha has been falsified. But here Raman Maharshi is saying, one whose attention turns to the self. For that person, ahankara and prarabdha both are falsified. This point we have to keep noting. In Advaita Vedanta, the key teaching is Mithyatva. Key teaching is Brahma Satyam. But Brahma Satyam is true only when everything else is mithya. To prepare us to this point is all sadhana. To prepare our mind to accept this teaching, to understand this teaching as it is. We do all practices, all disciplines are to come to this point. And we'll always feel we are switching between both. Sometimes it is said we should do more practices. Sometimes it will be said we should understand Jagat Mithyatva. And that is how this path is going to be. All the practices help us to understand the truth as it is. The best example for this verse is in Lakshmana Gita. In Ramcharitmanas, when Nishad Raj meets Lakshmanji, and he feels very sad, looking at Bhagavan Rama going through all these difficulties, Sita ji going through all this difficulty. The first teaching that Lakshmanji gives Nishad Raj is, Kahuna ko sukha dukha karadata, nija kruta karma bhoga sabha bhrata. He says, Nishad Raj, listen, in this world, nobody gives sorrows to anybody. Our own karmas come back to us as different experiences. So don't blame any person, don't blame Kaikeyi. One karma alone will have different factors to bring the result back to us. So this is one teaching. But what is the second teaching he gives? Dekhiya suniya, guniya jaga mahi, moha moola paramaratha nahi. He says dekhiya means see the truth. Suniya, how do I see the truth? By doing Shravanam. Guniya means, we say, right, is gaane ko gungunate hai. Keep repeating this song in your mind. Means like that, keep repeating this knowledge in your mind. Do mananam. Dekhiya suniya guniya manamahi. Abide in the nature of truth. Do nididhyasanam. And understand moha moola paramaratha nahi. This is Bhagavan Rama's vision. He says he is not looking upon his prarabdha as real. He is looking upon this whole experience as another dream. It is moha moola until we are asleep to our true nature as self, until we are asleep to our nature as pure self. This is everything else looks real. When substratum is known, superimposed is known as mithya. The moment we know the wood, all the images which are made of the wood, they are known to be as name and form. Moment I know the water, all waves are known as names and forms. Like that he says, know the self, ahankara and prarabdha, ahankara and jagat, that will look like a dream. And this technique, more we hold on to when everything is calm. It will help us when things are rough. Because prarabdha is mix. Sometimes there is mana, sometimes there will be apamana. So to think that mana is mithya, mana means praise. To think that praise is mithya is a great accomplishment. Only then this person can feel this understanding, or he can bring this understanding that criticism is also mithya. Apamana, insult, that is also mithya. He can do it only when mana is considered as mithya. Mana he takes as real, and when apamana comes, he wants to negate karta, wants to negate prarabdha. That will not work. So this verse in one line, if you want to summarize, it says, know the self and be free from destiny. Know the self and be free from destiny. 22nd, 23rd and 24th is one topic. And this topic is about vision of God. Darshan of Bhagavan what is Raman Maharshi's perspective about Darshan? We have to understand this very carefully. Huh? Next set of verses. Suddenly we should not stretch some different meaning. Puja Guruji always says, this is from Das Bodh, he says, Saguna Rakhuni Nirguni Bolave. Holding on to Saguna, we should reflect upon Nirguna. That is the best way of going on the spiritual path. So whenever we read verses like these, we have to try to understand what is Bhagavan trying to say. Don't just go by the literal meaning, you'll end up somewhere else. Anyway, our Shraddha is so weak. On top of that, if we hear something like this, it will get even more shaken. You see what he says now. Yadishuturvikshanameekshitaram Yadishuturvikshanameekshitaram Avikshatan kshanam syat Avikshatan kshanam syat न द्रष्टुरन्यः परमो हितस्य न द्रष्टुरन्यः परमो हितस्य वीक्षा स्वमूले प्रविलीय निष्ठा वीक्षा स्वमूले प्रविलीय निष्ठा. Again we'll repeat it. यदीशितुर्वीक्षणमीक्षितारम् वीक्षणमीक्षितारम् यदीशितुर्वीक्षणमीक्षितारम् अवीक्षतन्मानसिके क्षणं स्यात् अवीक्षतन्मानसिके क्षणं स्यात् न द्रष्टुरन्यः परमो हितस्य वीक्षा स्वमूले प्रविलीय निष्ठा. Ikshitaram. Okay, let's just split the words first. Yadi ishituhu vikshanam ikshitaram. That is the first line. Okay, yadi ishituhu vikshanam ikshitaram. So if you rearrange it, it will be ikshitaram aviksha. Ikshitaram aviksha. Ishituhu yad vikshanam. Second line. Tat manisika ikshanam syat. Tat manasika ikshanam syat. Again, I will repeat. Ikshitaram aviksha. Ikshitaram aviksha. Ishituhu yad ikshanam. Ishituhu yad ikshanam. Tat manasika ikshanam syat. In the Puja Guruji's commentary, the word by word meaning is given with Anvaya. Okay. But we should know how the verse is rearranged. Ikshitaram aviksha. Ikshitaram means the absolute seer, Sakshi, pure consciousness. Aviksha means ignoring that. Ignoring the self. Ishituhu yat vikshanam. The vision of Bhagavan. Ignoring the self, the vision of Bhagavan. It says tat manasika ikshanam syat. That is being seen only through the mind. That is being seen through the mind. So how should you understand this? It says whenever there is Upadhi, there should be Chaitanya also. Seeing Bhagavan outside. It says that has to be seen along with Chaitanya. Means with this understanding that Chaitanya alone is appearing as this vision. That is the Upasana Siddhanta. Upasana is whenever there is conditioning, along with that there is consciousness. If you see only conditioning, he says that is only Manasika Ikshanam. Then the second line he says, or third line, Hi drashtuhu paramaha anyaha na. Paramaha means Ishwara, Bhagavan, other than the self, There is no another separate God. Bhagavan is nothing but that pure consciousness, which is the illuminator. Means one thing to note here is this particular verse or any text in Vedanta, it will deepen our understanding with God. That Bhagavan whom I felt was away from me. This verse is saying Bhagavan can never be away from us. Even if we want, we cannot be away from him. Because he is Drashta, he is Chaitanya. He is a substratum in which, because of which body and mind appears. Even if the illusory snake wants, it cannot remain separate from the rope. Mirage water cannot remain separate from sun rays. Like that, this Jeeva cannot remain separate from Ishwara. But what is the meaning of Ishwara? This is Bhagavan is Drashta, that pure consciousness. He Drashtuhu Paramaha Anyaha na. There is no other Ishwara different from Sakshi. Tasya Viksha Swamule Praviliyasya Praviliya Nishtha. Seeing this truth alone is called as Nishtha in this truth. Dissolving the mind in Bhagavan means dissolving the mind in the self. Both are the same. That is what is called as Ishwara Darshanam. In Upadesha how did Bhagavan Raman Maharshi ji talk about Jeeva and Ishwara? Isha Jeeva Yoho Veshadi Bhida. Isha Jeeva Yoho Veshadi Bhida. The difference between Jeeva and Ishwara is only with regards to Vesha. Veshahanata Isha Darshanam. Once this Vesha is given up, that alone is vision of the self. Means conditioning is given up, that gives the vision of the self. Veshahanatah Swatma Darshanam, Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupatah. Giving up the conditioning of body, mind, and all the individual conditioning, whatever remains, that is nothing but Bhagavan. Now there are some points in addition to this, whatever we saw. The first thing here is that line, right? Avikshatan manasikekshanam syat. What it means is, in addition to vision outside, there is something more beyond it. That is the main meaning. Manasikekshanam means whatever we have seen, that is one thing. It says in addition to that, there is something beyond it also. And this point is emphasized in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is emphasized in Kenopanishad. In Srimad Bhagavatam, when Kapil Bhagavan takes avatar, the father of Kapil Bhagavan is Kardama Rishi. Kardama Rishi sees Kapil Bhagavan. In his own home, Kapil Bhagavan is born, sees him, then does pranam and says, now I'm going to seek you. Please give me permission. I want to go and seek you in your true self. As my true self, as your true nature. And most important one is, Kapil Bhagavan gives him blessings also. What does it show? That darshan of the Lord is a great accomplishment. Now this verse is for a very advanced sadhaka, whose mind is so purified. But beyond that, this darshan leads him to his own self. To see Bhagavan as one's own self, not as different from him. Raman Maharshi ji, in several places, he has written about what is his perspective about vision. There was some devotee who saw Madonna outside, some kind of deity in their culture, their tradition. They saw that vision outside. He said, she is seeing that vision. What is your perspective? He said she has gone a lot further in meditation, developed a very focused and a unique mind because of which she is seeing it. But later he says, whatever you are seeing, that seeing will be an object. So there has to be a seer. So from seen, he says, inquire into who is this seer. From seen, inquire into nature of seer. And later in his composition, Arunachala Ashtakam, 8 verses, there he says, when I saw you, O Lord Arunachala, my attention went on this point. Who is seeing it? He says, I'm seeing you, but my mind is thinking, who is seeing it? And then he says, when I asked this question, the ego did not rise to say, I am seeing it. Ego did not rise to say, I am seeing it. The absolute seer alone remained. The absolute seer alone remained. He says, if you focus only on vision, vision will come and go. But he says, Bhagavan Shiva is eternal. Bhagavan Shiva is eternal. So one has to understand him as one's own self. That self is something which will never come and go. So on one hand, there is great importance given to vision. But on the other hand, this point is also clarified that that vision should lead us to inner vision. This Goswamiji also writes, when he meets, Bhagavan Rama meets Shabriji, Bhagavan Rama tells Shabriji, what is the result of my vision? Mama darsana phala parama anupa. The result of my vision is very unique. I say, what is that uniqueness? Does he go to some loka? He says, no. Jeeva pava nija sahaja swarupa. That Jiva comes to understand his own Swarupa. Means Bhagavan whom he saw outside is seen as his own true self. Okay. Nadrashturanyah paramohitasya viksha samole praviliya nishtha. Now he says this topic of seeing God, which is said in our own scriptures. How do they say it? One should realize God. The purpose of human birth is God realization. And in some places they say self-abidance. That alone is the pursuit of human birth. He says this kind of injunctions, this kind of statements in Upanishads and Vedas, they're very difficult to understand. Because sometimes our own previous notions, they hold us in such a way that they don't allow us to understand it in the right spirit. You see what Bhagavan is saying here, next verse, 23rd. Atmanamiksheta param prapashyet. Atmanamiksheta param prapashyet. Ityagamokte sulabho na bhavah. Ityagamokte sulabho na bhavah. Natmaiva drushyo yadika katheshe. Natmaiva drushyo yadika katheshe. Swayam tadanni bhavanam tadiksha. Swayam tadanni bhavanam. Atmanamiksheta param prapashyet. Atmanamiksheta param. Ityagamokte sulabho na bhavah. Natmaiva drushyo yadika katheshe. Swayam tadanni bhavanam tadiksha. He says Upanishads are telling us many things. Out of them, 2 things are very oft repeated. Atmanam ikshet. He says, know the self. One should know the self. One should strive for self-abidance. Then they say param prapashyet. Param means Bhagavan, God. One should seek God realization. One should seek Bhagavan. Iti agama uktehe bhavah na sulabah. He says the essence of these two statements, which is said in agama. Agama means Vedas. He says this statement of Vedas is not easy to understand. There are several reasons why it is not easy to understand. One reason is we think there are two different pursuits. To seek the self is one pursuit, and to seek God is another pursuit. Means we will find these things in two different places. I will find Bhagavan somewhere else, and I will find Atma somewhere else. And whole purpose of Vedanta is to bring Mahavakya, which says the one whom you have known as Atma, that same Atma is Bhagavan. Atma, whom we have known as Sakshi, one's own self, that self is essential nature of Bhagavan. If we miss this point, then to understand these two statements is very difficult. Means we will feel we are going in two different directions. Second reason, Bhagavan Raman Maharshi only gives in the third line. He says, Yadi Atma eva na drushyah, Ishe ka katha. Yadi Atma eva na drushyah, Ishe ka katha. Meaning of this is, if Atma alone never becomes object of knowledge, na drushya, it never becomes object of sense organs. Becomes object of knowledge means we can get knowledge of Atma, but never becomes like another object of this world. Yadi Atma eva na drushya, Ishe ka katha. What to talk about Ishwara? Bhagavan also will be known as one's own self. There is another way to look at it also. Yadi Atma drushya, Yadi Atma eva na drushya, means if once you have falsified ahankar and known yourself to be Atma, you see, where is there the need to know Bhagavan separately? Ishe ka katha. One who has abided in the self, all questions about Bhagavan and world have also dissolved, along with this self-abidance. Last line is very beautiful. One of the most unique metaphor is how should we see God? Tad anni bhavanam swayam tad iksha. This is in front of Bhagavan. After puja is done, we keep naivedyam. This is instead of giving whatever belongs to the Lord as naivedyam, he says give yourself as naivedyam. Become the annam for the Lord. Swayam tadanni bhavanam tadiksha. Means Bhagavan is waiting to take our ahankara. Mrityunjayam mrityubhyashritanam. Aham matihi mrityumupaiti purvam. This ahankara he is willing to take so long as we are willing to offer. He says Swayam tadanni bhavanam tadiksha. Anni bhavanam means to become naivedya for the Lord. Naivedya, it is made up of two words, ni and with. Niveda becomes naivedya. Niveda means to declare, to make known. In Hindi they say, right, hum nivedan karte hain. Means I'm going to present my point now. This is like that you should do nivedanam of ahankara to the Lord. That pure consciousness, in that dissolving our ahankara. You see, doing this alone is having vision of the Lord. Tad anni bhavanam tad iksha. This dissolution alone is having darshan of the Lord. In Marathi, there is one abhang. Pandari se bhuta mothe. The ghost of Pandarinath is very powerful. He says nobody should go there. Ite जाऊ नका कोणी. Please don't go. What happens if you go there? He says गेले नाही आले. Those who went did not come back. Means once the ahankara is taken away, Bhagavan says, I will not give it back. With the same reality. With this idea or notion that ahankara is real, this doesn't come back to that sadhaka. But the bhavana which is there is very beautiful. Swayam tadanni bhavanam tadiksha. Holding on to this ahankara, don't see Bhagavan as separate from yourself. The desire to see Bhagavan is by letting go of this ahankara. So in one line, if you want to summarize this, it is to see God, let the ego be consumed. Let the ego be consumed by infinite awareness. That Chaitanya which is infinite, that should consume this ego. The example sometimes given is of moon and the sun. Moon is ahankara, sun is the self. As long as sun is not there, moon shines. But when sun rises, even though moon is there, it is overpowered. Like that, as long as we are asleep to the truth, ahankara is the only identity. But when he knows Bhagavan as the self, knows the truth to be the reality, even though this ahankara is there, it is not there. Swayam tadanni bhavanam tadiksha. 24th verse is conclusion of this chain of thought. 23rd verse, Bhagavan said, what is the nature of Swatma Darshanam? How to seek the self. 24th is explicitly mentioning what is Isha Darshanam. He says, once you know Bhagavan is within, don't go anywhere else. Seek him right there, seek him precisely. Now Bhagavan is playing hide and seek, he says. Having illumined this intellect, he went and hid behind the intellect. Because he knows this Jeeva will search everywhere using his intellect. But he will not search behind. He says, once you know that he is hiding there, don't go anywhere else. Go precisely to the same place repeatedly. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.